Jackals rattled with every movement, echoing like broken bells. In their grip was a human woman, her wrists bound in cold metal, her ankles chained so tightly that every step left bruises. Her name was Lyra, though to the aliens dragging her, she was only the human prisoner. The chamber they led her into was vast and cold, walls covered in strange glowing patterns. The air smelled of burning metal and acid. A row of tall figures waited inside, their eyes gleaming with a cruel light. These were the Zarath, a species feared across the stars. They had conquered many worlds, broken countless civilizations. Now, they wanted to test humanity. Lyra's boots scraped against the floor as she was pushed forward. She clenched her teeth, refusing to show fear. The Zarath warlord leaned closer, his scaled face twisted in a smile. His voice was deep, sharp like metal striking stone. "So this is the human," he hissed. "Small, weak, flesh too soft to resist. Let us see how long she lasts." Guards forced her onto a cold metal slab at the center of the room. Restraints locked around her arms and legs. Strange machines hummed to life. Wires glowed with green light. Tools sharper than blades unfolded from the walls. Lyra looked around. She saw no escape. She was alone, trapped in the very heart of the enemy's warship. Still, her eyes did not lower. She glared at the warlord, even as her heart pounded in her chest. The first strike came fast. Needle plunged into her arm, sending fire through her veins. She gasped, but bit down on the scream. The aliens tilted their heads, surprised at her silence. "Interesting," one muttered. "She resists." The second strike was harsher. Energy coursed through her body, burning her nerves like lightning. Her body arched against the restraints. This time a scream escaped her lips, raw and painful. The chamber echoed with it. The aliens laughed, their voices harsh and mocking. "Not long now," said another. "No creature lasts beyond the third cycle." But Lyra did. They increased the pain, changing methods, cutting, burning, freezing, testing every weakness they could imagine. Each time her body reacted, but her eyes, those human eyes, still glared with defiance. The warlord leaned closer, anger mixing with curiosity. "Why do you fight? You were already lost." Lyra spat blood onto the floor. Her voice was weak but steady. "'Cause I am human, and we don't break as easily as you think." The warlord snarled and ordered the final test. The chamber grew colder. A machine lowered from above, covered in strange spikes of crystal. It pulsed with energy that made the air tremble. The Zarath called it the Soul Extractor, a weapon meant to tear apart the very essence of a being. No species had ever survived it. The crystal pressed against her chest. Lyra screamed as her vision blurred. Her heart thudded wildly, then slowed. The pain consumed her. Her body shook, her skin pale. Her last breath rattled from her throat. Silence fell. The machines beeped, confirming what the aliens saw. No heartbeat, no brain activity. Lyra's head fell to the side. Her body went still. The warlord raised his clawed hand, satisfied. "She is dead. The humans are nothing." The chamber filled. With cruel laughter, the guards cheered, some pounding their weapons against the floor. To them, it was proof that humanity was weak, fragile, doomed to fall like the rest of the galaxy's prey. But then, something strange happened. The monitors flickered, their lights dimming and sparking. The machines that had drained her life stuttered as though something interfered. A faint glow shimmered across Lyra's skin, too soft for the aliens to notice at first. Her body twitched just slightly, like a muscle refusing to stay still. None of them paid attention. They had already turned away, recording their results, congratulating themselves on their victory. And yet, the faintest sound escaped her lips, a whisper of air rushing back into her lungs. Her story was not over. The chamber was quiet now, the echoes of the Zarath's laughter fading. Guards and scientists left to record their findings, convinced the human was dead. It already started planning her body's transport to the research labs. The warlord leaned back in his chair, pleased with himself. Humanity had failed. But the monitors started to flicker again. A soft, almost imperceptible glow shimmered across the slab where Lyra lay. At first, it was easy to miss just a tiny pulse of light, like a heartbeat of some strange energy. Then her chest moved ever so slightly. "She's moving," whispered one technician, eyes wide. The warlord turned, curious, but not yet alarmed. "Impossible," he growled. "Check the readings again." The monitors screamed a warning. Heart rate, 0. Brain activity, flat. And yet the flesh moved. Her fingers twitched. Her eyelids fluttered. A second passed, then a third. Slowly, impossibly, Lyra inhaled, lungs filling with air. She gasped, drawing a shuddering breath, coughing. Violently, her eyes snapped open, bright, defiant, alive. The Zereth froze. Guards stumbled back in shock. Even the warlord's claws trembled slightly. She was dead, one hissed. Lyra pushed herself upright, her chains rattling. Her body ached everywhere, the burns, the cuts, the bruises, but something had changed. Inside her, a faint warmth pulsed, a strange energy that she had never felt before. It spread through her muscles, nerves, and bones. She could feel it like fire and ice at the same time. The warlord's voice cut through the chamber. "Contain her. Kill her again. If you must." The guards lunged, but Lyra moved before they reached her. The strange energy inside her responded to her fear, her anger, and her will. It made her faster, stronger. She kicked, twisted, and dodged. Guards tumbled into each other, weapons sparking. Uselessly, as her presence caused machines and equipment to glitch. Impossible. One soldier screamed, slamming his fist against a wall as the sparks from his weapon fizzled out. Lyra struggled to her feet. Every inch of her body throbbed with pain from the torture she had endured, yet she stood tall. Chest rose and fell rapidly. She could feel the rhythm of her heart, not as it had been before, but faster, more alive, as though the very force of her revival had made her stronger. The warlord stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "Explain this. How can a human survive the soul extractor?" Lyra's lips moved, but she barely had the strength to speak. Her voice was hoarse, ragged, but her defiance was clear. I don't. No, but I am not yours to break." A sudden, sharp alarm rang out through the ship. Energy lines sparked and flickered. Machines across the chamber wind, smoke curling from panels. The aliens scrambled. It was as though her mere presence interfered with their technology. Lyra noticed this too. The cables and tubes on the floor writhed slightly under the glow of her energy. Her fear mixed with anger, and a new feeling emerged: power. She was not the same human who had been captured only moments ago. Something inside her had awakened something the aliens could neither control nor understand. The warlord roared, and guards charged again. Lyra ducked under a strike, grabbing one of the alien weapons. She barely knew how to use it, but the energy flowing through her body responded instinctively. Sparks flew from the weapon as she touched it, and the guards fell back, stunned and frightened. For the first time, the aliens began to hesitate, their confidence shattered. They had planned for a weak, broken human. They had counted on fear, on pain, on death. Now the impossible had happened. The human had returned. Lyra staggered. Toward the nearest exit, she needed to move, to escape, to survive. But she also felt something else, a burning need to understand what had happened to her, why she had returned, and what she had become. The warlord barked orders, but no one moved fast enough. Lyra's energy pulsed stronger with each step, interfering with controls, doors, and lights. Guards tried to follow, but machinery failed, and the way became clear. She was free, at least for now. Outside the chamber, the corridors stretched dark and silent. The hum of the alien warship was broken by flickering lights and malfunctioning panels. Lyra stumbled down the hall, weak but alive, feeling the strange power inside her growing stronger. Every step she took was filled with determination. She had survived death, and now she would not be captured again. Behind her, alarms screamed and the warlord's shouts echoed down the corridors. Lyra didn't look back. She had faced death, endured torture, and come back. Whatever had brought her back, it had made her more than human, something the aliens would soon regret. And somewhere deep inside her, Lyra understood the truth. Her fight had only just begun, yet seen what a human could become. Flicker of malfunctioning lights. Lyra moved carefully, her chains still clinking lightly as she went. But the energy inside her pulsed stronger with every step, almost like it was alive. It guided her, whispered to her, showing her the way. She had survived death. She had endured torture that should have ended her life. And now, she could feel something new, something she did not understand. Her body did not ache as before. Instead, her wounds seemed to hum with energy, knitting themselves together faster than they should. She reached the control room. Panels flickered, screens glitched, and machines beeped an alarm as she entered. Lyra could feel it. Her presence disrupted the technology. The ship's systems trembled under her power. She didn't touch a single wire, didn't press a single button, but the lights dimmed. Doors locked and unlocked themselves, and alien guards froze mid-step. Her mind raced. What was this? How could she control it? She had never felt anything like it. But instinct told her it could be dangerous, powerful, and if she learned to control it, useful. The first guard appeared in the doorway. Lyra's hand twitched, almost without thinking. Sparks flew from the control panels. The guard's weapon jammed. Second guard ran in, only to trip as the floor panels hummed and shifted beneath him. Lyra realized the truth. Her presence affected the ship itself. Machines and technology. Bent to her, Wooler at least reacted to her energy. The realization hit her like a shockwave. She was not just alive. She was different. She was more than human. Somehow her revival had given her power over the very machines the aliens relied on. And then she saw the alien computers. Screens showed maps of distant planets, star systems, and the human's homeworld. Lyra's heart ached. The aliens were planning attacks, sending fleets to destroy human colonies. If she had this power, she could stop them. She could save lives. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden noise. The warlord himself appeared. At the entrance, claws raised, eyes glowing with anger. "You are mine," he shouted. "You will not escape." Lyra took a deep breath. She didn't feel fear anymore. Not the fear that had haunted her when she was captured, not the fear that had gripped her when she was tortured to death. Something inside her had changed. She felt alive. She felt strong. And she felt unstoppable. The warlord charged. Lyra raised her hand. The energy within her surged, glowing brighter. Sparks flew from the consoles around her. The warlord stumbled as if an invisible force pushed him back. His soldiers tried to advance, but their weapons jammed, malfunctioned, or exploded harmlessly. Lyra could barely believe it herself. She had never controlled this power. It was as if her anger, her survival, and her will to live had fused into something tangible. She could feel the ship's machinery, the very energy flowing through it. Responding to her thoughts, she took another step forward. Doors opened as if by magic. Security cameras stopped working. Alarm systems beeped and then went silent. Every machine she passed seemed to obey her. She realized one thing clearly. She could escape. And she could take the aliens' weapons and plans with her. But her mind was still full of questions. Why had she returned? Why had this power chosen her? And most importantly, could she control it enough to survive the warlord's revenge? Lyra moved through the ship, testing her abilities. When a console flashed red, she concentrated. The lights dimmed, the alarms stopped, and the display went blank. She gasped at the control she had over this strange force. She was not just fighting to survive anymore. She was learning to fight back. The warlord roared again from behind, furious at her progress. He was not used to failure. He had conquered countless species, crushed civilizations, and broken the strongest of creatures. But humans were different. They did not give up. They did not die quietly. Now one human had returned from death itself. Lyra knew she could not stay in the ship. Even with her power, the warlord would not stop until she was destroyed. She needed a plan. She needed to escape and warn her people. She needed to survive long enough to learn the full extent of her new abilities. She found a small maintenance hatch, just large enough to squeeze through. As she crawled into the narrow passage, she felt the ship's systems pulse with her energy. One last time. Lights flickered, machinery hummed erratically, and a faint alarm echoed in the distance. Lyra realized that the alien's greatest weapon was now vulnerable because of her. And for the first time since her capture, a small smile touched her lips. She had returned from death. She had survived torture. And now she held a power the aliens could not understand, a power that could change the course of the war. Emerged from the hatch into a dim corridor. Ahead, the warlord's forces were regrouping, but she was faster, smarter, stronger. She could feel her energy ready to respond at a moment's notice. Every step she took was filled with purpose. She was no longer a victim. She was a force to be reckoned with. Somewhere deep inside her, Lyra understood one undeniable truth. The war had only just begun, and she would be at the center of it. This part builds her power discovery, shows her new abilities affecting the ship, and ends with a clear, suspenseful cliffhanger. She's escaping, the aliens are regrouping, and the audience wonders what she will do next. The corridors of the alien warship stretched endlessly, dimly lit by flickering lights and glowing panels. Lyra moved quickly, her chains dragging slightly behind her. Every step felt heavier than the last, but she ignored the pain. She could feel the strange energy inside her pulsing, guiding her, giving her strength. Behind her, the warlord's alarms blared across the ship. She cannot leave this vessel alive. The warlord roared. Find her, bring her back, or destroy her. Squads of guards moved out, searching every corridor, every chamber. But Lyra was no longer an ordinary human. Every step she took seemed to bend the ship to her will. Doors that should have been locked opened for her. Security systems glitched, and alarms faltered. Machines sparked and died in her presence, making the aliens pause in confusion. The first group of hunters turned a corner and froze. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly as she instinctively focused her energy. The lights around them flickered violently, panels short-circuited. The squad's weapons jammed. In the chaos, Lyra moved, silently past them, unseen and untouchable. How? One guard stammered. The aliens realized that this was no ordinary human. She had survived death. She had endured torture. And now, she had returned with power beyond their understanding. The warlord's anger burned hotter than ever. He had never been defeated so easily. Every attempt to capture her failed. Lyra reached a junction in the ship. The passage split into two directions. She paused, listening. Voices echoed from the right corridor, another squad of soldiers searching. For her, on the left, a dim light flickered over a hatch leading deeper into the ship. She could feel the energy inside her guiding her. It pulsed more strongly toward the hatch. Choosing the hatch, she crawled through, the walls tight around her. Every movement felt dangerous, every sound magnified in the narrow space. She could hear the alien footsteps behind her, their frustration growing with every second. Finally, she emerged into a maintenance chamber filled with wires, conduits, and glowing energy cores. Lyra's hands trembled slightly as she touched one of the panels. Sparks jumped from the console as her energy interacted with the systems. Machines hummed and buzzed as if alive, responding to her presence. She realized that the ship itself had become part of her weapon. But there was no time to experiment. The warlord's hunters were closing in, their weapons ready. Lyra's mind raced. She needed a plan not just to survive, but to fight back. A sudden thought struck her. The ship was carrying weapons capable of destroying human colonies. She could disable them. She could stop the aliens from causing more death. She could not just escape. She moved carefully through the chamber, touching control panels, sending pulses of energy into the system. Lights flickered, doors locked and unlocked, alarms started and stopped. The alien soldiers entered, ready for combat, but their weapons failed one by one. Sparks flew, panels short-circuited, and energy shields activated unexpectedly. Lyra's power was growing stronger, more focused. The warlord appeared at the doorway, his claws raised, eyes burning with fury. "Enough," he shouted. "Do not think you can escape me." Lyra's body pulsed with energy, responding to her anger. She raised her hand slightly, and the ship's machinery reacted violently. Sparks flew across the room, wires twisted and twined, and guards were thrown back by invisible forces. The warlord staggered, his fury turning to fear. Lyra realized something important. She was not just surviving. She could control the ship. She could use it against the aliens. And she could protect humanity from their attacks. She moved toward the central weapons control. Her fingers brushed the console, sending a pulse of energy through the ship. Alarms blared, lights flashed, and panels began to shut down. Long, dim corridors. Every surface hummed with energy that seemed to respond to her presence. The power inside her had grown stronger since her escape. She could feel it now like a living force, ready to obey her will. She reached the central core of the ship, the heart of the alien war machine. Panels glowed, machines hummed. Energy pulsed through the massive conduits that ran like veins across the floor and ceiling. In the center was the super weapon, a massive device capable of destroying entire human colonies. Lyra paused for a moment, her chest rising and falling. This was at the source of the aliens' terror, the weapon that had killed so many. She had survived torture, defied death, and discovered her new power. She could turn the aliens' own weapon against them. The warlord appeared in the doorway, claws raised, eyes blazing. "Do not touch it," he shouted. "This is my power. You will not survive this." Lyra didn't answer. She stepped forward and placed her hands on the weapons control console. Sparks jumped as her energy connected with the machinery. Panels flickered and screens glitched. Machines hummed and shuddered. The weapon was alivened now. It was hers to command. The warlord lunged at her, but Lyra raised her hand slightly. Energy surged outward. A shockwave threw him back. Guards tried to intervene, but their weapons jammed and malfunctioned. The ship itself seemed to obey her will. The power flowing through her, through the ship, through every machine connected to the super weapon. She closed her eyes and focused. The weapon pulsed, reacting to her thoughts, to her desire to stop it from killing innocents. She saw visions, flashes of the destroyed colonies, images of humans in pain, their cries echoing in her mind. Anger surged through her. Her power responded, growing stronger with each heartbeat. The warlord roared, charging again, but Lyra was ready. She released a pulse of energy that sent guards flying and shattered the nearest control panels. Sparks flew, and lights flickered wildly. The aliens could only watch, helpless, as the human they had tortured now controlled the fate of the entire ship. Lyra's fingers danced over the console, guiding energy through the conduits. The super weapon shuddered and groaned under her control. She could feel it trying to resist, but her will was stronger. She had survived death, and nothing, not even the warlord, could stop her now. The chamber filled with alarms and sparks. The warlord screamed in fury and fear, realizing he had lost control. Era's eyes glowed brighter, her energy spreading. Throughout the ship, the weapon pulsed violently, then exploded not outward, but inward. The energy reversed, destroying the mechanisms the aliens had built for war. A massive wave of force surged through the ship. Panels bent, conduits snapped, and the floor shook beneath her feet. The warlord tried to flee, but the energy pinned him in place. His soldiers scrambled, but every attempt to fight back ended. In failure, Lyra's body trembled with the strain, but she stood firm. She had become the master of the warship. Every machine, every system, every weapon obeyed her. The aliens' pride, their cruelty, their confidence, it all shattered before her. Finally, she released the last surge of energy. The super weapon was destroyed, its core imploding in a controlled collapse. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared, and lights went out. Smoke and sparks filled the corridors. Lyra stumbled, but remained standing, her power still thrumming through her veins. The warlord clawed hands, reaching out, hissed in defeat. Impossible. You cannot be human. Lyra's voice was calm but powerful. I am human, and we do not give up. The chamber shook one last time before falling silent. Smoke curled in the air, machines smoldered, and the aliens lay scattered and broken. Lyra looked around at the wreckage, breathing heavily. She had survived death, discovered her power, and destroyed the weapon that threatened her people. She knew the fight was not over. The warlord may have survived. Other ships, other fleets, other enemies awaited. Humanity's struggle was far from finished. Lyra stepped forward, moving through the damaged corridors. Her energy pulsed softly, still connected to the ship, still alive. She had become more than humans, stronger, faster, and unstoppable. And now, she carried a message across the galaxy. Never underestimate a human. As she reached the hatch leading to the escape pods, she paused and looked back at the ruined warship. Flames flickered from broken panels, smoke curled through the halls, and the aliens she had faced lay defeated. She smiled faintly, exhaustion and triumph mixing in her chest. Humanity had survived. She had survived to fight another day. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The void of space held both danger and possibility. Lyra climbed into an escape pod, her body trembling but alive. She had become a legend in her own time, the human who defied death, who wielded power beyond imagination, who had turned the aliens' own weapons against them. As the pod launched away from the warship, Lyra looked out at the distant galaxy. She knew one truth. The war was not over, but humanity would never be weak again. And somewhere deep inside her, Lyra felt the spark of a new beginning. The hunt for vengeance had ended, but a new journey had begun. The escape pod drifted silently through the dark void of space, stars stretching endlessly around it. Inside, Lyra leaned back, her body bruised, burned, and exhausted, but alive. Every breath she took reminded her that she had cheated death. Every pulse of energy in her veins reminded her that she was no longer just human. The alien warship, once a symbol of terror, was now reduced to smoldering wreckage. Its weapons destroyed, systems offline, and soldiers scattered or dead. Lyra had survived every test, every attack, every expectation that she would fail. Outside, the pod, the galaxy, seemed vast and silent. But Lyra could feel the ripples of fear spreading across the alien fleet. Stories of the human who had returned from death and wielded unimaginable power would travel quickly. The aliens would never forget. And humanity, for the first time, had a legend to inspire hope. Lyra pressed a hand to her chest. Her wounds were healing faster now, her energy still thrumming inside her. It had grown even stronger since the warship's destruction. Whatever had brought her back had not just revived her hit, had transformed her. She could feel it coursing through every nerve, every muscle, every thought. But Lyra knew her journey was far from over. The warlord may have survived, and other threats awaited humanity across the stars. Her people needed protection, her kind, needed a symbol of warning to all who would dare harm them, and now she was that symbol. She activated the pod's navigation system, setting a course for Earth. The controls flickered slightly under her influence, but she guided the pod easily. Her mind raced with thoughts of what she had seen aboard the alien ship, weapons capable of destroying entire colonies, fleets moving across the galaxy, enemies who believed humans were weak. But now she carried knowledge and power beyond what any human had ever known. As the pod approached the edge of the alien warship's debris field, Lyra felt a strange sense of peace. She had faced death, survived torture, and discovered the power within herself that even the most advanced aliens could not understand. She had returned to life stronger than before, a force that could not be broken. News of the battle, though, delayed, would reach Earth soon. Humanity would learn of the human who had survived against impossible odds, of the young woman who had turned the aliens' own weapons against them, and the galaxy would begin to whisper her name, Larutha, human who could not die. Inside the pod, Lyra closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered the cold chamber, the torture, the death. She remembered the alien's surprise when she had returned. And she remembered the surge of power that had saved her and destroyed their weapon. All of it had led to this moment, a moment of survival, strength, and hope. The stars outside seemed to shimmer, as if acknowledging her journey. Lyra knew she could not stay in one place for long. The galaxy was vast, full of threats and dangers. But she also knew that wherever she went, the legend of humanity's resilience would grow. As she neared Earth, Lyra activated the pods. Communication system. Signal broadcasted across space, a simple message to her people. I survived. Humanity survives. Prepare. We are stronger than they think. Her words would echo a warning and a promise. The aliens had believed humans were fragile, weak, and unworthy of respect. But one human had returned from death, wielded power they could not understand, and had changed the course of a battle that could have destroyed worlds.